Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Sully Squad. Got some exciting times in Philadelphia sports. I know, Sean. I know when we were growing up, there wasn't a lot of exciting times.
No.
But right now, things are looking pretty good in Philly sports. You got Daryl Morey cooking. Love what the Sixers are doing in free agency. You got the Flyers getting the Russian kid Michkov coming over. Phillies with 7 All-Stars. And Eagles training camp. Eagles are looking good again. So we got a lot to get into. I got my usual cast, except Diego's out, and we got special guest Nick Earnshaw from 97.3 hopping on. So thanks for hopping on with us, Nick.
Thanks Joe, Sean, great to be with you guys, man. It's exciting. I can't wait to break all this down. There's so much happening in Philly sports.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I was saying, man, I'm about to be 46. Sean and I graduated at the same time, and when we were growing up, of course, it was we had Buddy Ryan era, and that was good. But right when I started watching the Sixers, dude, was when they made the Moses trade, and they traded away Moses Malone, and then they traded Brad Daugherty, so they screwed up my Charles Barkley years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Eagles, took a few years for them to get good, but they never won in the playoffs. The Phillies sucked my whole childhood except for '93. That was it. And so I guess what I'm saying is, I'm looking at the landscape of Philadelphia sports here, and really 3 of the 4 teams you could realistically make a legit argument could be having a parade this year. So I'll start with you, Nick. What's your, how do you feel about the outlook of Philadelphia sports right now?
Oh man, you got to be excited, right? Usually it's we're Debbie Downers over here. We're something to complain about every single week, right? No, right now you have a Phillies team who's the best team in baseball, best record. They've been fantastic, dealing with a lot of injuries, and they've somehow stayed the course with those injuries to their stars. Harper, Schwarber, Realmuto, Turner, all these guys have missed time, and they stayed the course. That's something to be exciting about. They've been to the pennant 2 years in a row. They go to a World Series in 22. They're a real team in this city right now. And then you look at the Philadelphia Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl just 2 years ago as well. They go to the playoffs last year, very disappointing end of the season, but there's a lot of hope heading into this year. You get Saquon Barkley, you have new coordinators on the offensive, defensive side. You're getting younger on the defensive side. A lot to look forward to there. And then the 76ers, I'm so back in and back out on the Sixers, but I'm back in again. I wasn't in love with the idea of giving Paul George all that money in those years. Wasn't in love with it. I'm still not crazy in love with it. But with what they've been able to do to surround the team with Caleb Martin, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, these signings that they've gotten, Daryl Morey, you got to give them credit with what they were given in free agency. They did the best they could, and they got a lot of talent to fill out this roster. You bring back Kelly Oubre as well. So they're a team that's a contender this year. I think the odds have gone up significantly after the moves they've made to win the championship next year. And then the Flyers, they're building their team. They're young. They almost made the playoffs last year. That's a team to continue to watch too. So all these teams are on the rise or are a team that's a contender at the moment right this second. So yeah, maybe are all 4 teams going to go back to like they did in 80, right? Is that what's going to happen here? Can we get a championship out of this?
Yeah, beautiful thing.
Definitely. So I'm excited for sure.
Yeah, I got a comment here, and this again, typical Philadelphia. This is my buddy John. He's John Michael. He says, "Hey fellas, good times in Philly, but this is Philly. I remain a wet tail skeptic. I'm not in on the Sixers at all. Embiid is always injured, and now we add other injured players. LOL. Sorry." He's got a point. Although I will say Paul George did play 74 games last year though, so that's But to John's point though, you look at what just the Sixers in particular. You look at what they added. I think the Caleb Martin signing was huge because the one thing about Caleb Martin is not only is he a really good rotational role player, but he kills the Celtics. And that's a big one right there, But what else do you think they could add? I feel like they could use another ball handler.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've brought up the name Seth Curry. I think he's out there. You're going to need minimum players because you're running out of cap room, right? You waive Paul Reed, you bring in Caleb Martin, fantastic signing, by the way. He was awesome. Like that's huge. And you get him on a cheaper deal. He was going to get 60 plus million from the Heat. You get him for 32 over 4. That's a huge signing. I've mentioned Seth Curry as a name to look out for. He can hit threes. You bring back the entire Ben Simmons trade, essentially. You bring back Drummond, you bring back Seth Curry. I think he's a name to watch as another guard. Markelle Fultz is an interesting name to look out for, to bring him back possibly. I'd be interested in bringing him back because he can play defense. He's still young, injuries a little bit, but he'd be cheap because you're going to have to go for cheaper players right now. So those are 2 names I'm looking for the 76ers. I mean, you have Eric Gordon, which is huge. He can come off the bench. He's been in a lot of big games. I just like the roster construction finally. It's like once you got out of that Tobias Harris contract, Joe and Sean, like that opened up the floodgates. Like now you can go sign all these different wings. Like you finally have wing defenders, a lot of length on the defensive side. Right. So that's what I'm looking for. But I remember they still have all their picks. They didn't have to trade any of their picks. They actually added a 2nd round pick in this offseason. So that's something to look out for too, because if you have all those assets, you can go make a trade maybe later down in free agency or when the deadline rolls around next season to add to this team to make a run. Now, obviously, what your comments said right there, they have to be healthy. They have to be healthy. Yeah. It's all about health. If they're not healthy, they're not going to win anything. It's that simple. If they are healthy, if they can get to the playoffs with their team intact, Embiid on the floor, Paul George on the floor, Maxey, they got a shot. They got a real shot to go far, but it's all about the health, and that'll be it every single year with Embiid on the roster.
Yeah, the porcelain doll has to be healthy, most definitely. Yeah, and it just got bigger and athletic, like we both said. So I'm excited for this season.
That's what was so frustrating about the playoffs last year, though, because it's like Embiid gets the surgery, he comes back, and he must have hurt himself more than they let on in that one game because he looked pretty good. Like you watched him against the Knicks, and I was like, well, damn, did he even get the surgery? Like he was running around on like one leg. You know what I'm saying?
He looked absolutely.
Yeah, but, he did. He did look yes. Like he was playing with Bell's palsy. He had half a face. Half his face was working. True. The knee. I mean, he's had knee injuries for how many years now? Knee problems forever. It's tough to watch, and he was still dropping 50 points like in games. Like, I mean, what are we doing here? Like, he's incredible, man. I give him all the credit. It stinks. I mean, that's just who he is at this point in his career. You got to watch the knees. He's not getting any younger. He's going to be heading into his age 31 season, I believe, next year. So, yeah, I mean, it's just about health at this point. And hopefully Paul George and Maxey, you add these other pieces, can take a little bit of pressure off. I think Embiid said in an article today or some interview that he doesn't have to do as much. He doesn't have to score 30 or 40 anymore. Right. He can kind of hand it over to Paul George or Maxey and not put the pressure on his knees. So we'll see.
Yeah, here's hoping that Embiid is done. Like let's not worry about the MVP anymore. Like that's over with. Like, I mean, to me, I could, even if he only played, say, 60 games, I don't really care. Like, just be healthy in April. Give us a shot, Yeah,
so true. Just look at what the Celtics did to the Mavericks, man. You actually thought you would have, like, a good series? Nah. Celtics whipped them, But that's who wants it more, So...
Yeah, I got a comment here. Paul Spencer says, "What's up, fellas? Welcome to the Out of the Box family." Nick.
Oh, look at that, Paul. Great to be here, man. We're already off to a great start. We're not even 10 minutes in. This has been fantastic. I mean, when you're talking Sixers and there's positivity surrounding the Sixers, that's a beautiful thing, Joe and Sean. Paul as well. It's awesome. I love talking Sixers in a positive fashion because usually it's so negative.
I know. Yeah. And let's be real. I saw on Twitter. Well, I still call it Twitter. I guess it's X now or whatever. But Paul George was saying he supposedly they were really close to having him traded to the Warriors. And I'll tell you what, if that trade went through, we probably would be negative about the Sixers right now. Because I don't know what the hell they would have done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I wasn't like, that wasn't my number one thing. Like, I didn't want them to go get Paul George. I wasn't in love with the idea, his age, the money, the years. Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. They get him. He's a very good player. He's a great wing. He's a star. Huge. They did their job. They went out and got a star. Daryl Morey said what he's going to do. Okay. I think if they were able to, Lauri Markkanen would have been a name to watch out for from the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
That would have been a name I would have thought the Sixers could have went after. He's only $18 million against the cap. They had the trade assets to do it. You saw what happened with the New York Knicks and Mikal Bridges. They go out, they give up a ton of picks to go get him. That could have been something the Sixers could have done. That could have been another route they could have taken to go after a wing like that. So that's something I could have seen them doing. And then, filling in the gaps around them, building out a roster with a lot more depth than they're going to have this year. I mean, they have a decent amount of depth now with, Drummond. That's huge. You have Eric Gordon, Oubre. Fine, you can mix and match lineups. But that could have been another route they went. But we know Daryl Morey. He's going to chase the star, and he did. And, he's filled out the roster, I think, pretty well surrounding the stars. So when you have three superstars, a big three, a team like this, I think you're in good shape, and they got a chance. They definitely have a chance.
Yeah, I got it. John Michael agrees with you. He says he hopes they get Seth Curry back. I agree with you guys. Reverse the Simmons trade. I really like the team with Curry. And Paul Spencer's got another comment. He says, "You guys can talk Cowboys."
Oh no, Paul! No.
Hold my nose on that one.
What did he say? I couldn't hear him.
Yeah, he said he could talk Cowboys, but hey, I mean, we could like I said, I mean, we could praise the Sixers all day long, but we got a baseball team in this town with 7 All-Stars. First place Philadelphia Phillies. Tough. Like we touched on earlier, a lot of guys out, and of course I want to be positive, but the Philadelphia in me has to be a little bit negative. Our outfield really does blow. So what do you think? What do you think that Dombrowski could possibly do at the deadline to improve this outfield? Because the infield's great, but the outfield really sucks.
Yeah, the outfield's brutal. I mean, to say the least. I mean, you can't have Kyle Schwarber back out there getting hurt again. You can't send him back out there in left field at all. Sean, I know you agree with me on that. That can't happen. David Dahl, he had the home run when he came up. After that, he's been not great. Yeah. Rojas, he's just not a major league hitter. He's just not. I mean, he's got plenty of time to develop. I think personally they rushed bringing him up, to be honest. Yeah. He came straight from Double-A. I know they needed a glove out there. He's a fantastic glove. He is an all-star level glove in center field. But the bat just is not there, and it's not there yet. And this is a team that wants to win right now. They have to make an upgrade. I mean, they have to make a trade. In the beginning, like a few weeks ago, about a month or two ago, I'm like, oh, they have to go get an arm. Their number one thing is an arm out of the bullpen. I still think they do need another arm out of the bullpen. But it's turned into, you need an outfield bat because Brandon Marsh can't hit lefties. He's batting 152 against lefties. Very troubling. I like his glove in center field. He can handle it. But you don't want to platoon 2 positions on a championship level team. That's the issue here. There's names out there that have been talked about. I mean, Luis Robert, a name in Chicago, continues to be talked about. Jazz Chisholm is a name I like. I know he's a lefty, but he hits great against left-handed pitching. So he actually hits better against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching, which is interesting. Brent Rooker from Oakland. That's another name to watch out for. Not a great defender, has been more of a DH for the Oakland Athletics. But that's another name I think that the Phillies could get, and they wouldn't have to give up as much either. Because remember, they have 3 top prospects that they don't really want to give up. And I trust Dombrowski, but he's traded prospects in the past. And if they're going to go for it, you may have to give up one of those guys.
Yeah, the only kid, I mean, I really don't want to give him up, but honestly, if you have to give up one of the top guys, the shortstop I would probably do. Not Aiden Miller, the other guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name. They have a young kid shortstop that's not Aiden Miller. It's let's see if I can find him here. But I would consider that only because he's going to be blocked by Aiden Miller. Plus, you got Trey Turner playing shortstop too. You know what I mean? I think his name's Kaba or something.
Kaba, Starling Kaba, I'd move
from the Rays. He got some good numbers. Yeah.
He's a young kid that they probably like his potential, but you do have Bryson Stott who's young. Like you said, you have Turner, and then you got Aiden Miller, and from what I understand, Miller's still playing shortstop right now.
Yeah, he is. So we had him on the locker room with Billy Schweim a couple of Saturdays ago. He came on, and I asked him about that. He's comfortable playing either third or short. He's played both his entire life. He doesn't mind. His answer was great. Like he doesn't mind playing either one. And I'm thinking down the line, right? You mentioned Trey Turner. I mean, you got all these guys on 10-year contracts at this point.
Right.
Like You move. So I'm thinking, all right, Schwarber probably only has a couple years left here. I don't expect him to be here more than 2-3 more years, right? So he's gone. And then maybe you think about moving Bryce to DH. Then you move Bohm over to first base. That's something you could do. And then Miller comes up to third, Turner still at short, and you have Stott at second still. That could be something down the line if you're going to do that with Miller.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. And I guess, what's the one rule with prospects with baseball all the time? They, a lot of times they always say, well, don't just pigeonhole somebody in. Things have a way of working out,
Yep, exactly.
So, we can always go to the St. Louis Cardinals organization and try to pluck something from them because they're so rich and deep, whether it's the farm system or even the starting lineup. Like you got the kid Alec Burleson, Donovan. Yep. I mean, but I'm just the average fan, but I hope Dombrowski's thinking the way I'm thinking and everybody else is thinking.
Yeah, let's hope. But yeah, I mean, hey, so let's. Hopefully. How about maybe bullpen? What's funny? You mentioned the guy from the A's, the outfielder from the A's. Maybe they could. Maybe the Phillies could. Although the problem with that would take your top prospects though. If you tried to get Miller and I don't know.
So, and they give a lot of prospects and picks because they want right now as it stands. I don't know if you've seen the article. They want like a king's ransom for him.
Yep.
Even though Oakland's not the best of the team, but they want a lot for him. But the kid has the stuff. He's there. Throwing 103. I think his fastest was 105, Joey and Nick. It's like, damn, sign me up.
Right. I love Mason Miller. I think Mason Miller is fantastic. You're so right, Sean. They want everything for Mason Miller. I made a prediction on my baseball show. I don't think Mason Miller gets moved. I think they're going to be asking for too much. I don't know if the A's want to come down from that price. I mean, you can keep him and develop him. He's a really good player. There's talk he might even turn into a starter down the line. You don't know. So if they're asking for that much, and I think they was on Sunday Night Baseball last night, it might have been Buster Only said something about Mason Miller's market. Like, teams don't want to give up this king's ransom, like Sean mentioned, for Miller. Like I just don't think they're going to want to do it at this point because, and you also remember the third wild card. All these teams think they're in the race right now. Like there's a ton of teams in, like whether it's the American League or National League. There's more teams that think they can make the playoffs, and once you're in, anything can happen in postseason baseball.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, look at the Phillies 2 years ago. The Phillies get in as a 6 seed. They're on the verge of losing game 1. Next thing you know, they beat the Cardinals and they go all the way to the series.
Yeah, exactly.
So you never do know. And I mean, you were talking about like closers. I mean, the Pirates would be a team, with their closer, but like you said, they're in the running. You know what I mean? So it's going to be tricky for Dave Dombrowski, who I would say, to be honest with you, as much as I like Howie Roseman, I would say Dave Dombrowski's the best GM in the city.
But,
he is to me and Joe will always say, "Damn, Sean, you're still on that." I still hate the fact that Howie Roseman drafted Rieger over Jefferson. Like, I don't care. I know what's in the past is in the past, but come on, man, he was right in your palm. And what the hell you seen in Rieger is beyond me because I watched him and he looked like garbage. But, and just to see the faces of Spielman in that war room for the Vikings are like, we just fleeced them. And they're high-fiving, slapping each other. But,
we'll speaking of the Eagles, because I got a question on the bottom there, best GM in the city. And it's hard for me to – this is actually really hard for me to – because, I mean, Howie Roseman, you look at the job Howie Roseman did. I mean, like you said, what's training camp in about 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Training camp's about 2
right?
weeks. Yeah, I think the 23rd. Yeah, so we're roughly 2 weeks away or whatever. But like, what was your thoughts on what Howie did in this offseason and the draft?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Sean bringing me back to bad memories with the Jefferson thing, man. It was brutal. I remember writing a whole article on why they should draft Justin Jefferson, man. It was brutal. Taking Rager at that pick. But he's improved, man. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl for this team.
Yeah.
Getting Saquon Barkley from the Giants, like I never thought he'd pay a running back. Never thought the Eagles would do it after the history they've had at the running back position, kind of having a running back by committee. I mean, they won a Super Bowl that way. So that was fascinating to me. I think, the moves he's made over his career, I thought he's done a fantastic job. He's a Hall of Fame level executive for sure. In my book, I'd still say he's the best GM in the city. I like the moves that they did make in the offseason. I like the draft. I like going all in on corner, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Love those moves. I think the Jalen Carter pick was fantastic. I'm interested to see Huff. That's going to be interesting. I don't know what we're going to get out of him. But I think Howie did a great job this offseason. And, we have the question at the bottom on the ticker, best GM in the city. I'd still give Howie Roseman that name. He brought the Super Bowl here. He continues to add star-studded talent. Remember, he found Jalen Hurts, too. That was a second-round pick. We all gave him, what, for drafting Jalen Hurts. It's ended up working out. They've been to a Super Bowl. They've been to the playoffs 3 straight years. I mean, that's something to be proud of for sure. He brings in A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith, another guy they drafted. The offensive line they drafted really well too. Those later picks, they've done a good job. He's gotten better at drafting. It has not been his strong suit for his career, no doubt about it. Jefferson one, big flub right there, huge. But I'd say Howie's still number one. I'd have to go Dombrowski too, for sure. He still has to make some other moves. I think has to be able to be here a little bit longer for the Phillies. Championship also has to happen as well. Morey, I'd still go 3, even though he's had a really good offseason. Things still have to play out. He did his job. Danny Briere at 4 right now. Wait and see. It's a lot of wait and see with the Philadelphia Flyers. But I think he's done a great job. I mean, he's been dealt a tough hand, him and Keith Jones, with the Flyers organization. So that's probably why I go. I go Howie, I go Dombrowski, Morey, Briere. That'd be my ranking for the GMs in the city.
Yeah, I did. John Michael. Hey, Sean. You have a fan. John Michael would have taken you. Archbishop Brian's own Sean Kilrain over Jalen Reagor.
That's great.
That would be awesome.
And you know what's funny too, Nick. To your point, like, isn't it ironic that arguably Howie's worst pick, the Jalen Reagor, probably you could say his best pick was the very next round, which was Jalen Hurts, because first off, like to have the balls to actually make that selection. I mean, everybody in the city, I remember draft night, everybody's like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, what, a quarterback? In fact, my buddy texted me when they went to commercial break, because I guess he saw it on Twitter first. Yeah. And he's like, dude, they took Jalen Hurts. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. They didn't take Jalen Hurts. And next thing you know, it comes out, and everybody was clowning him. You know what I'm saying? And then sure as shit, Carson Wentz shits the bed. And next thing you know, you got yourself, hopefully a franchise quarterback. I mean, 2022, he certainly looked like it. And the first 11 games last year, he looked like it. But that could have been Howie's best pick right after his shittiest one.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's been so back and forth. He's had some really good picks and some really good misses. Like, that's a perfect example right there. You get Reagor in the first, but you take your franchise quarterback the next round. I mean, that's the whole quarterback factory we had to go through for a little while with the Eagles. So, I mean, he's made some interesting picks over the years, but I think free agency, the wheeling and dealing, his masterfulness with the salary cap. I mean, the way he's been able to maneuver, open up space, get guys to take a signing bonus and turn their salary cap number into a signing bonus from their salary. He's been masterful. And, whether, I guess it's kind of like credit, right? They're kicking the can down the road. They've had a couple of losing seasons because of that. They've gotten in a little bit of money trouble, but it works out because you have all these winning seasons. You're able to get all this talent and bring them in. So he's done a masterful job maneuvering the cap, making trades, adding free agents. Draft, he's gotten better at. Obviously not everyone's perfect. Not every GM is going to make every right decision. You're going to hit and miss on some players. That's been kind of his Achilles heel at times, but he's also hit on a number of guys as well.
Yeah, Sean, I want to get to your GM pick, but real quick, John Michael Jalen has me worried, but I'm hoping he read more motivational books and reloaded his inspirational quotes, and he's back to 2 years ago. I believe in the kid. Hey, all we can do is hope, right? I mean, do you have any concerns about like how they were making such a big deal a few weeks back about how he kind of, it was almost like people were implying that he was clowning Nick Sirianni. Like, do we have any concern over that?
For me, I don't have a ton of concern there. I don't think. Listen, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni are two totally different personalities. That's clear. It's so obvious, right? It's clear that they're two totally different people. But I think they can make it work. I mean, this team went to a Super Bowl 2 years ago. We forget that. I understand how bad last year was. I'm glad they brought in a new scheme, right? On offense and defense. They brought in new coordinators. Kellen Moore is going to be much more creative than Brian Johnson. They were so predictable last year. Winning cures all. And if they're winning and they're more creative on the offensive side, I think the offense is going to be fine. It stinks because Jalen's had to learn a new offense nearly every year since high school. Like the Shane Steichen years were the only 2 that he's had the same coordinator back to back, which that's frustrating as a quarterback, right? You're learning something new every single year. But I don't think there's much into that. I think that's kind of been blown out of proportion, in my opinion. I think they'll be fine. They're professionals. He's still a young quarterback. Sirianni's still a young head coach. They'll figure it out. And with the new coordinators, I think it's going to help a lot because the offense is not going to look as bland as it was last year.
Yeah. How about you, Sean? You any concern, or you think it's much ado about nothing?
Nah, much to do about nothing. Just like Nick said, with Kellen Moore, we're going to run more motion, heavy involved in the tight end, more running back with the addition of Saquon, and Hurts under center. So it's his to show us what he's all about, So I'm looking forward to the season, with these guys, But as far as my GMs, with the bad taste in my mouth, it has to be Howie Roseman 1, Dombrowski 2, Morey 3, and Greer 4th. But you got 2 guys for the Flyers organization that played the game, knows the game. So I have the utmost confidence in whoever they get because they know the game, So props to them. What about you, Joey?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard for me to go out. It's hard for me to say it's not Howie Roseman, but just to be, I'm going to say Dombrowski first now, only because but a lot of, again, I mean, a lot of that could be, well, let's see what happens and let's see what he does at the trade deadline and see what happens in October. You know what I mean? But it's hard to go against Howie. But just to be different, I'll say Dombrowski first, Howie second. Morey. Morey third, but let's keep it real. If the Sixers make a championship run, that could change. And then Briere, I mean, we really can't even factor him in because he just took over. So it's like, how can you judge the guy? I mean, maybe, who knows, 5 to 10 years from now, we could look back and be like, man, Danny Briere is like the best GM the Flyers ever had. Who knows? You know what I mean? The guy's just taking over now, I mean, he can't be any worse than I remember when they hired Ron Hextall, and I was like, oh man, maybe Hextall turned out it wasn't that great, So sometimes you just don't know.
What I mean? I think with Briere, you just got to give him time. I mean, he's been there. I guess he was acting GM for a little bit after he took over. So give him a couple of years. They're building something. You bring in Keith Jones as well. I think they'll be okay. I think you're going to get a team that's going to be contending in the playoffs. So you're totally right, Joe. Like in a couple of years, 10 years down the road, you'll be looking back. Yeah, Danny might have been the best out of those 4, and those are really good executives. Like Dombrowski's a Hall of Fame executive. Howie Roseman, definitely Hall of Fame executive. Morey remains to be seen, but he's still considered one of the top executives in the NBA. So Briere could get into that upper echelon in the city as well as in his own sport.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Dave Yarnell says, hey, Sully Squad, can I get a shout out to my daughter Faith's softball team from the Delco Outlaws? They're going to Nationals in Virginia this weekend. I'd appreciate it. All right, go Faith.
Let's go, Faith.
There we go. Good luck. Good luck.
Nice.
Delco Outlaws.
Yeah, Dave and I actually do a baseball show called Extra Innings. Like we used to do it every other week. Now we do it like once a month, and we just do like the whole major leagues. You know what I mean? Like we break down the stats and who sucks and everything. But yeah, that's my man. But just getting back to the Eagles real quick before how concerned, we're all singing Howie Roseman's praises for the moves that he did make. And I thought he had a great offseason, but how concerned should we be, do you think, the fact that you don't have the leadership of anymore of Kelsey on the one side and then you lost Fletcher Cox on the other?
I think for the Eagles, my main concern is the defensive side of the ball. No question about it. Because I'm worried about the defensive line, right? You're getting more of a Jonathan Gannon defense again. The Vic Fangio defense. Jonathan Gannon ran a similar one, because he's essentially he was a prodigy of Fangio, right? They ran similar defenses. I'm concerned about the defensive line. Do they have enough depth there? You're asking a lot of Jordan Davis. He's got to step up this year. He's got to show why they took him in the first round. Jalen Carter, I think he'll be very good, but he's got to step up as well. Like, these guys got to develop. You're asking a lot of young players to develop. Huff, do you know what you're going to get out of him again? Like, he's coming from the Jets. He's a question mark as well. Brandon Graham getting a little bit older. Josh Sweat, he's still solid, but you need a little bit more out of him. This is a young defense. Yeah. Another guy, Nakobe Dean, another question mark. He's been injury prone. He hasn't really shown what he could do at the NFL level yet as well. And then, you have Cooper DeJean, you have Quinyon Mitchell. There's a lot of young pieces on this defense. So my question mark is the defensive side of the ball. Devin White, you bring him in. He's a veteran. What are you going to get out of him? He was kind of having a down year. He's a little older. I don't know. The defense is my main concern. Are they going to be able, because they're not going to blitz a ton. They're not going to blitz a ton. That I can tell you right now. That's not going to happen. That's not the scheme that Fangio is going to run. They're going to want to get to the quarterback, rush 4, and then play off coverage in the secondary. So I'm more concerned about the depth on the defensive line. Are guys going to take that next step? It's the Bulldogs defense. All these Georgia Bulldogs need to take that next step if the Eagles defense wants to be up to par and what we think it's going to be. So I think there's a lot of question marks there. On the offensive side, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be okay. Now, the tush push, that's an interesting question. I don't know what's going to happen there. You don't have Kelsey there anymore. You still have Jalen Hurts, who could squat 600 pounds, but the legend, the man himself, is now out of the equation. So I think the offensive line is still going to be very good. I think they'll be one of the top offensive lines in football, but you have all these weapons. I'm curious to see how Kellen Moore gets creative and gets them all involved. That's what I'm concerned about. How are you going to spread the ball around to all of these superstars you have on offense? You saw it last year. Devontae Smith had a quiet 1,000-yard season. Dallas Goedert had some injuries. Remember, Dallas Goedert didn't score until the Rams game. It was at week 5-ish. So they had trouble early on in the season spreading around last year. Now you add Saquon Barkley to the mix. How's that all going to work out? I'm more confident in the offense than I am in the defense because there's so many more question marks on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, like you said, especially the pass rush, because you lose in Reddick, and then and then I think I was seeing, like, it looks like Jordan Davis is in good shape now, but that it seems like as the season goes on, all of a sudden, like, he starts off good, and then all of a sudden it's like he's like gassed. You know what I mean? Almost reminds me of like Albert Hainsworth years ago with Washington, where he's like laying on the ground. They're like, "Come on, dude, time to get up." You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the pass rush. Sean, I don't know about you. I'm very concerned because you lose Reddick, you add Huff. He's an unknown, and you're putting all the faith into all these young guys.
With the front defense of the Eagles now, for me, I'm looking at all the guys. You got Milton Williams. I think he's going to show up. Ajomo, Nolan Smith is kind of the weak link because of that bad shoulder. He has such great speed off the edge. He's got great technique, but the shoulder isn't healed. Did he work on his technique better? Linebacker kind of concerns me the most. You said as well as the front. I think it's linebacker for me because you got Devin White and all the other guys, Nakobe Dean, a couple unsung heroes. But the secondary, I'm kind of confident in, So, and I want to see that kid Johnny Wilson too, that they keep ranting and raving about from Florida State. But all in all, would you go out and get a slot receiver with the name of a guy like Hunter Renfrow? Would you look into that?
Yeah, I would. I think they need a third receiver. Yeah, they do need a third receiver. Paris Campbell, is he really going to cut it? John Ross coming out of retirement? I don't know.
It's just a name. Like they're hype names and camp bodies. But like you said, does John Ross still have it? Does Paris Campbell? I'm excited to see how Isaiah Rodgers does after a year of being suspended all year. I think he's a pretty solid corner And where do we go with Burnberry? I'm sorry, James Bradbury.
I think he has no shot of being on this roster week 1. That's where I think. I think he gets cut. He's either cut or traded. I don't know what value he has on the trade market, but there's no way he's going to be here. And you have all these young corners. How are you going to keep all of Eli Ricks, Kile Ringo? Like, you have all these names to think about.
I love Sidney Brown's just everything about him, man. Even when he played, he's just that genuine, smart player. And you couldn't ask for a better story with him and his brother, you know what I mean? But, yeah, I think Bradbury either gets traded to Atlanta or the Colts is what I was reading a couple of months back. What's up for me?
Paul Spencer said, the only thing with Johnny Wilson, he says he drops the balls a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but you hope he could work on that, you know?
Hit that jugs machine, man.
Paul Spencer says, I agree. D-line depth and starters to potential. Opposite of Cowboys or O-line as 2 players starting out of position as rookies. Guyton at left tackle, BB at center. I'll tell you what, getting back to the Bradbury, though, if Howie Roseman could somehow get some value for Bradbury, immediately induct him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally, like, I mean, like, just – yeah, like literally, he'd be like the first active GM to they'd be like, all right, he's immediately going in. You know what I mean? And then the Tennessee GM would be like, I totally agree, fleece my ass. You know what I
mean?
Yeah, listen, if you can get some value for Bradbury at this point, I mean, they were trying him out at safety a couple weeks ago. I think they were just throwing a body there, to be honest. I think there's no shot he's here. And you have to remember, like, Eli Ricks, he came out when he was coming out of high school, he was a big name at Alabama.
Yeah.
And so, like, he's been a name for a long time. I thought he played really well last year, but when he's not an inside corner, he's not a slot guy. He's an outside corner for sure. So if he's the guy that makes the roster, he helped you out on special teams too. Ringo was getting a lot of praise in mini camp. So yeah, they have a lot of decisions to make, especially at corner. There's so much. When was the last time we had this much depth? We talked about it with the Eagles at the cornerback position. I mean, this is huge for the Birds to have this much depth in the secondary. That's what's going to help them, especially if the front 4 can't get to the quarterback on the pass rush. So very interesting stuff to see who makes the roster and who doesn't at the cornerback position.
So true.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was going to say they had Bradbury doing everything but selling lemonade outside.
Exactly.
Yeah, like what's your job? What it's like Office Space. Like, what exactly do you do here? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I can't see him being on this roster. I mean, it's safety. I don't know if that even works. I mean, they need some depth there. Sidney Brown coming off the injury. Do they want to keep him there? I don't know. I can't see it. I mean, I think they're just kind of throwing bodies around at this point.
See you later, Bradbury.
And here's another guy too, like Josh Jobe. Now as a corner, like, I think all these guys are better than him as a corner, but I'm pretty sure I was reading somewhere where he's supposedly like a really good special teams player. So it kind of makes you wonder, or one of these guys, like you said, like a Ricks, who looks pretty good. If you have all this depth, it almost makes you wonder if maybe you wind up possibly having to cut somebody like that because somebody else is better on special teams.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, Jobe could make the roster because of the special teams play, right? Yeah. Isaiah Rodgers, he's probably going to make the team. Like, you have Darius Slay still at the top of the list there. And then you have Quinyon Mitchell. Cooper DeJean can kind of rove between, if they want to try him at safety as well as corner. Kelly Ringo, another guy. Like, I mean, they have so many names on this roster that – yeah. Who do you just not want to keep? Who are you just going to leave off? Like, it's a pick 'em at this point.
Certainly, I mean, at least on paper, it looks a lot better than last year. I mean, last year last year might have been the worst secondary play that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, that was just horrible.
It was horrendous.
I will say Bradley Fletcher era.
That's true.
Back then. That would have been a Byron Maxwell. I think we've seen a little worse than last year.
Yeah, it just
from Oakland. Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, Nnamdi
Asamoah. Oh God.
We got to bring you back, Joe. We got to refresh your memory there. Yeah, I mean, there's some brutal corners we've had here for sure. But like the Super Bowl year, I was fine with Mills. I was fine with Darby. Like, they were fine. But going back, like Bradley Fletcher, brutal.
Oh God, that was hideous.
Yeah. I mean, there were some names we could go down the list. I mean, Byron Maxwell, another guy, brutal for the Eagles. Spent a lot of money on him too.
You know what's funny too? You talk about Nnamdi Asomugha. It brings me back. They signed him on a Friday night, and the Phillies got Hunter Pence the same Friday night. And I remember I was in a bar in Doylestown, like for happy, like it was a little after. I was out for happy hour. Then it was later in the night, getting a little banged up, and like dudes are like high fiving each other, like, "Yo, man, we got Nnamdi Asomugha, we got Hunter Pence," and then it's what a freaking disappointment, you know?
Yeah, that was a kick in the gut, really. The way he went from Oakland to here, wow, like
that's an all timer. It's an all timer. I mean, they had him and Rogers Cromartie, and Rogers Cromartie was really good in Arizona, and then had a pretty good career after that, especially with the Giants. He was decent. Like it was with that era of Eagles football. Just yikes, all time snoozer there for the Eagles signing Asomugha for sure.
Goddamn Danny Watkins,
fireman. Yeah, there you go.
You know, it's funny. The kid coming out of the draft, I think his name was like Latue or something from UCLA. I think I forget his name. The kid coming out this year, he was a pass rusher. I might have screwed up his name, but he supposedly was thinking about being a firefighter. I was like, absolutely not. Forget it.
Stay away.
Like, not even interested.
We love our firefighters, but we don't even play on the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's just where we're at.
Yeah, I got one more comment here. Joaquin Stable, I think we're going to the Super Bowl this year with the roster that we have, but they need to improve on special teams. Special teams actually did improve last year. The Super Bowl year, the special teams sucked, but last year it was actually not that bad. But let's hope it's good again this year.
I think it will be. You know,
I think so too. I think with Covey, Joe, he was very good last year. I thought he was fine. Like he didn't take anything back for a touchdown, but he was solid. He's one of the top punt returners in football. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Would you keep him with all that stuff being said as one of the locker room guys? And you know the code. You know, you keep everything in-house.
Yeah.
You don't allow that outside. And social media and sports talk, it's like it's a feeding frenzy. You know what I mean? And I think that trying to put him like as a bullseye. You know what I mean? A target on his back. Does he stay or does he go?
I think he stays. I would keep Covey. I think he helps you out on special teams. He's one of the top guys in yards per catch, like you mentioned, Sean, last year. I would keep him. I mean, that's just the day and age we're in. I mean, we have a guy who just signed with the Sixers, has his own podcast. I mean, he's called Podcast P. That's just the day and age that we're in, guys. Like, they're going to go out. Things are going to be said. It's just it's where we're at with today's athletes. So things are going to be said in the media. They're going to twist it sometimes. It just is what it is. I think, I'm not too worried about Britton Covey going out there and causing ruckus in the media. I think they'll be fine. Keep him on special teams. I don't want to see him probably as a third receiver. Now, someone I do want to see get involved in the pass game is Saquon Barkley. That's a name that I want to see him get involved in the pass-catching games. The Eagles haven't done that in a while. It hasn't been Sirianni's MO. I wonder if Kellen Moore finds a way to get Barkley involved into the passing game a little more, especially since they don't have that third receiver that, they kind of want. Paris Campbell, John Ross, not names that jump off the board there.
I think it does, like you said. I think you're going to do like a 5 and in dump pass. The dude's a wrecking ball. So it's like, do you really want to tackle him at his ankles? No.
Absolutely not.
He's that strong in his legs, He's a bowling ball, and just like you and Joey said, it's pick your poison. We got such a talented roster from wide receivers to O-line. And the O-linemen are just as nimble, if not quick. Your Lane Johnson, your Landon Dickerson. Everybody was counting him out with the bad knee when they drafted him. Look at him now. I mean, it's awesome. Mulata, too, a 7th rounder. Come on. Don't get no better than that, man. I love it.
I'll tell you what. You know what I'm interested in? I'm interested in to see Jeff Stoutland get his hands on Mekhi Becton.
Yeah.
I think he's going to unlock the code on him. because he knows how to work those O linemen. Obviously, who he played for the Jets, it was a shitty team. But like you said, Joe, I think he's going to unlock some potential because the dude's a mammoth. You said it yourself, and even the rookies that we drafted, the guy that's from North Carolina State, the guy with the long hair, I forget his name. And I love the dude, Keegan. I'm going to tell you right now, the dude has got some quick feet. Watch out for him. He's going to be a starter on the O-line. Trevor Keegan from Michigan that we drafted. 6th rounder. I like him.
I hear you. Well, hey, man. Hey, we could talk Eagles all day. You know what I mean? But, hey, Nick, listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on with us, dude. It was a blast.
Yeah,
Great
Joe,
time,
Sean, thanks so much, man. I mean, this was fun. I'm always down to talk Philly sports, man.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
And
always welcome.
I know a lot of the people out there know you, but where could everybody see you?
All right, so I'll be on 97.3 ESPN, 4:30 every day. Nick's Nuggets. I chop it up with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash. Saturdays as well, 10 to 12. I produce The Locker Room on 97.3 too. Also have a baseball show called The Shift Podcast. I co-hosted alongside Francisco Rojas on W. He's a producer at WIP. We host our own baseball show as well. So you can catch me there. And then I'm the station coordinator at Camden County College, 91.5 WDBK. That's kind of my home base, and we're rebuilding that station for the students there. So ton of places, but 97.3, 4:30 every day I'm on the air.
Hey, man. Yo, dude. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it, and let's go Phil 6, go all to 4 teams, right? Hopefully we have a hell of a year.
Let's go
4 for 4, guys. Let's see them win. Let's bring a couple of championships home within the next 2 years. All right, let's do it.
Hey, that would be nice. Yeah, we'll see you at the parade.
All right, guys. See you soon. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. Talk to you later.
Later.
Yeah, it was a good time, man.
Yeah, man. Great. Great talking sports. Picking people's brains for the sports knowledge, it doesn't get no better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
So
cool, man. But yeah, I got to wrap up in a few minutes here. Joey's got another flag football game.
okay.
He's a member of the 49ers. So. The only time I'm going to cheer for the 49ers is when Joey's a player. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I couldn't agree more with you. Unfortunately, it is what it is. So yeah. No,
but I gotta give a shout out here though. We mentioned John Michael mentioned his concerns about the Sixers injuries, and every time I think of injuries, I think of my man Jason Fine, aka Attorney Big Al. If you get hurt on the job out there, you say you slip and fall, don't settle. What was that movie, Sean? I'm going to Get You Sucker, where he says he could sue you for $1 million, but he'd settle for 40.
Yes.
Yeah, don't settle for the 40. Get yourself something better than some St. Ides. You know what I'm saying? Call my man Jason Fine. He's got 3 offices throughout Pennsylvania, New Jersey. One in Philadelphia, PA, one in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and one in Pittsburgh, PA. So. Hey, man, hopefully you don't get hurt out there, but if you do, my man will get you paid.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to touch on. Nothing really happened with the Flyers. I know we didn't really, we talked Briere a little bit, but Flyers just had they're not really going to be a story probably until next year, really, or until they start playing and we see the Russian kid, because Briere came out and said that they really don't have any money to spend on free agents because of the cap situation. So, Flyers got a little, but basically, hopefully they don't.
Work in progress.
Yeah, they're a work in progress. You know what I mean? Just like the Sully Squad here.
Yeah,
we're work in progress, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, listen, I'm gonna wrap up. I got to get my little guy to his game.
Sounds
so, go. Oh, you know what? I didn't even touch on. You know what? Phillies this week, actually. I always do this, and I forgot to do this with Nick.
Oh, good, man.
All right, so.
Dodgers.
Phillies got, 3 with the Dodgers, and then 3 with Oakland.
Yes.
Then we got the All-Star break. Big series with the Dodgers. We're really banged up, although I think Schwarber might be back tomorrow night, though, I think I saw.
Okay. Real quick, because you got to run 3-3.
You think the Phillies are going to sweep the Dodgers?
No, 3 wins, 3 losses.
Oh, 3-3. Okay.
Yes.
You know what? All right. Well, see
Yeah.
now. This sounds like I'm being kind of a wimp. I'm just hoping the Dodgers. I think we're 3 or 4 up on the Dodgers. So I hate to sound like defeatist, but with as banged up as we are, I'll be happy. Just win. Even if the Phillies only win 1 out of 3, I'd be okay with that. And then just kick Oakland's ass. So I'm gonna say 4-2. I say they beat the Dodgers once, and then they sweep the shit out of the shitty ass A's.
Well, I'm going to the game Friday night for Gabriella's birthday, 16th birthday, so it should be a fun time. And I'm hoping, like you said, they kick some ass Friday night against Oakland. So
nice. And maybe Dombrowski has some phone conversations for that outfielder, and we'll see what's up. You know what I'm saying?
I'll try to get his attention when I'm down there. You're right.
All right, bro. Well, listen, go Phils. We'll see if the Sixers can maybe by this time. We won't be back till the 22nd. Next week we're taking a week off. So next time we're back, it'll be right before Eagles training camp. Hopefully by then, maybe the Sixers get Kyle Lowry or some sort of a point guard in. And honestly, they could use maybe another power forward. Maybe Marcus Morris can come back. I'd be cool with that.
Bring it back. Philly toughness, baby. Let's go.
All right. So next time we're on here, we'll do a lot of Eagles talk. And all right. Well, everybody, we'll see you later. And go Phils.
Go Fightins.